Join me every Tuesday for fun and games and play for cash. That's right. Sylvia Mid, the fun word guessing game is back and you can come aboard and play. It's simple. Just email us your name and contact information and you are in there, baby. Yeah.
Hey, it is Smooth Tim and Larry E. And welcome on to another hump day on Tim's Tidbits. What's happening, Larry?
Not much, man. It's kind of cold down here. It's kind of cooling off.
You know what's insane? Last night was trick or treat. Okay, up here they had
Ah,
they had snow flurries. So
oh,
the
okay.
so the
Ours
kids
is
so the
tomorrow.
kids the kids are out in their trick or treat outfits with like parkas and shit, big old fucking
Freezing to
mittens.
death.
Have the candy. Yeah.
Somebody should have got dressed up as a snowman or Santa Claus or something.
That would have even been a better outfit, right?
Or
That would have.
somebody should have got dressed up as a sun. That'd have been cool.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a ray of sunshine for anybody. But there's one thing that did happen, and I seen this on the news this morning. They had, excuse me, a contest. It's a worldwide contest that they do, and these people bring in the scariest pet.
Hmm.
So it's a scariest pet contest, and the winner had this. It was like it's a genetic defect, actually, that they stumbled across, and it's a cross between a blowfish and you figure it out.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Here we go.
I'm just saying, I couldn't believe it. I said, "Oh my, that is scary."
Mm, mm, mm.
That was just not right, but it was, as far as I'm concerned, the world's
You said a
scariest pet.
blowfish. Yeah.
Hey, what can we say? Anyhow, hey man, let's move on to for real topics. That was obviously fake news.
Right,
And
right.
anyhow, yeah, we'll clarify that. That was definitely fake news, people. Hey, what's not fake news though is they finally was able to elect a Speaker of the House.
Oh, okay.
And we've seen that McCarthy wasn't good enough, and the Ohio State wrestler that coach guy did I seen nothing.
He got kicked out.
He's not in there, so they finally made it down to Mike Johnson. So
Mike Johnson.
congratulations,
Not
Mike
Mike
Johnson,
Jones, but Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson, and when they announced it, I had to say to myself, just who is he?
Who was Mike Johnson?
Yeah, who's Mike Johnson? So let's take a quick clip to see exactly who is Mike Johnson.
Here's a basic question that a lot of people around the country are asking. Who is Mike Johnson?
It's an excellent question, and indeed, many people are asking it because 24 hours ago, he was little known to vast majorities of, vast swaths of the American public. He's the vice chair of the Republican Conference, which is a leadership position that doesn't typically get a lot of attention. And now, just 24 hours later, he has become Speaker of the House. So who is he? A few things to know about him. Mike Johnson has a solidly conservative voting record, scores very highly on the scorecards of right-wing groups. He voted against the recent stopgap bill that Kevin McCarthy put on the floor to avert a government shutdown, voted with many Republicans on that measure. He's an animated opponent of legal abortion as well as LGBT rights, introduced a number of bills to that effect. He came in with Trump's approval, with Donald Trump's approval, sort of. Trump said he wasn't endorsing Johnson before the vote, but said Republicans should just go ahead and elect him and get this done. And after he was ultimately elected to the speakership, Trump put out a statement congratulating him. Johnson has also gotten some criticism for his role in promoting conspiracy theories and election denial claims, specifically crafting an argument that a lot of Republicans rallied around to object to certifying some pro-Biden electors. That's been a real focal point of the early criticism from Democrats. He also, back in the mid-November of 2020, promoted some conspiracy theories about Hugo Chavez and Dominion voting systems potentially rigging the election that were widely discredited at the time. And finally, he's only been in Congress for about 7 years or so. He's a fresh face, not very experienced, and it turns out that's exactly what Republicans want.
Turns out that's exactly what Republicans want.
Yeah, somebody that can be a puppet.
I mean, I can't believe this guy's anti-gay, anti-abortion, anti-election validation. He's like anti-everything. I'm like, wow, man.
And Trump endorsed him.
And Trump endorsed him. And, you know, yeah, and you don't know a lot about these people. It's interesting how you don't know a lot about these people before they go and whatever, people happen to have elected him.
What did they really tell us about him? They didn't tell us anything. They didn't tell us anything about him.
Not a whole lot, and they call him, now Trump likes to call him Mega Mike. So let's do a little bit of digging and see what kind of individual Mega Mike actually is when he's up there talking.
Around in the late 60s, you remember that, what that was about? The countercultural revolution, Woodstock and drugs and peace and free love and all that, but more about the undermining of the foundations of religion and morality. Because if you remember, in the late 60s, we invented things like no-fault divorce laws. We invented the sexual revolution. We invented radical feminism. We invented legalized abortion in 1973, where the state, the government, sanctions the killing of the unborn. All these things happened because, as collectively as Americans, we began to get together in growing numbers and thumb our nose at the Creator and say, we don't believe that anymore. We're rejecting the founders' natural law philosophy in favor of moral relativism, and we are going down another path. Now, what we tolerate in moderation, our children excuse in excess. What happens when you fast forward another 30 or 40 years? Well, here's a picture's worth 1,000 words. Go to the next one for me. I mean, we know that we're living in a completely amoral society. And so people say, how can a young person go into their schoolhouse and open fire on their classmates? Because we've taught a whole generation, a couple of generations now of Americans, that there is no right and wrong, that it's about survival of the fittest, and you evolve from the primordial slime. Why is that life of any sacred value? Because there's nobody sacred to whom it's owed. None of this should surprise us. And it leads in
MAGA is ascendant, and if you don't think that moving from Kevin McCarthy to MAGA Mike Johnson shows the ascendance of this movement and where the power in the Republican Party truly lies, then you're not paying attention.
Roe v. Wade gave constitutional cover to the elective killing of unborn children in America.
There's a lot of pro-lifers, of course, celebrating this extraordinary day in American history that took us almost a half century to get to.
In just a few number of years, Social Security goes belly up. So does Medicare, Medicaid, all of these big spending programs. We've got to think about long-term reforms to those programs.
You think about the implications of that on the economy. We're all struggling here to cover the bases of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all the rest. If we had all those able-bodied workers in the economy, we wouldn't be going upside down and toppling over like this. Listen,
the gentleman.
I will not yield. I will not. Roe was a terrible corruption of America's constitutional jurisprudence.
He was a fucking asshole, man.
Well, and he's the Speaker of the House now. Okay, so yeah, he's like anti a whole lot of stuff. And I cannot believe that. And then, I mean, obviously he thinks, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, needs to, be reformed. What does that look like?
He basically saying that
What are you trying to say? You know,
die.
get the poor whiteys and blackies and whatever off of welfare and get them into the factories, along with whoever else we can round up. What's that about? I mean, where's this guy coming from?
See, that's politician 101. These motherfuckers are connected to money, connected to people that can get money, connected to people that can write laws to get money, to maintain money, to create money. He's with them. He's not with the regular people. Bullshit. I'm like, it's us against them. And the American people and people in general need to understand that across the world, it's us against the politicians. They're all in it together for the country, for themselves. It ain't for the country. It ain't for the Constitution. They're in it together for themselves as a collective group. It gives a rat's ass
right.
about anybody else.
It's interesting, and they go into these theological settings, okay, and denounce about the behavior of society. Well, who doesn't? And you can't sit there and blame the Democrats or the Republicans or the people who think that abortion should be okay and the people who don't think it should be. It's nobody's fault like that. It's us in general that need to be monitoring ourselves better in the way that we put out information, how we put out information, and to whom, right?
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, Tim, everything was created for a reason. If abortion was never to be utilized, it never would have been created. Same thing with food, same thing with shoes and shirts, with internet, with cars and Teslas and water. It was created all for a reason. So the whole purpose of it being created is to utilize it. No one can denounce that or change it. Fuck the Constitution or any kind of thing they can write or kind of law they create. At the end of the day, it's all about survival of the fittest. That's how it's always been. And the rich people have always been surviving better than the poor people, and they've always been suppressing the poor people. And the politicians are a prime example of how they stay on top by getting together and utilizing their unity to write laws and steal money and to just push people back. It's all a scam, man.
Yes, it is.
And who voted for this guy? No one even knew this guy. He's on the radio. He's a Republican. You know what Republicans are. I can't say they're better than Democrats, but I'm just saying he's still a politician. He's put there for a reason.
Right. Hey, all I can say is, with some of these people that go into those settings and they talk the talk, but they don't necessarily walk the walk. Let's take our President Trump. He talks don't walk the walk. Look at
nope, none of them do.
Now listen, don't be taken in by false prophets.
Bunch of hypocrites, bro.
Yeah, amen.
Presidents, senators, politicians, the House, the Senate, right wing, left wing, Republican, Democrats, all hypocrites. Because at the end of the day,
let's not say all, but seems to be a big majority.
No. All I'm saying is, this is how I look at it. If you're not racist, but I am, and I do some racist ass shit, and you still cool with me and stick with me, then you just as guilty as I am. Period. Am I right or wrong?
I have to agree.
So if them assholes know what they're doing is wrong, and they're still sticking with them knowing it's wrong, whether they don't agree with it,
you are
wrong.
Enabling the behavior. You are enabling the behavior. Because
guilty by association,
right?
Bro.
Exactly. It's just like anything else. Anyhow, speaking of people's behavior that should be admonished, everybody knows, or if you don't, Trump's in New York going through his civil lawsuit about how he can't keep track of exactly how much his business is worth. I guess, I don't know. Check this out.
Today, for the first time, Donald Trump took the stand in one of his many trials. Not the two federal trials, not the Georgia racketeering trial, not the hush money trial, the civil fraud trial underway in Manhattan right now. Trump's been attending every day, doesn't apparently have anything better to do, and he was summoned to the witness stand by the judge himself to answer for a potential violation of a gag order the judge imposed 3 weeks ago. That gag order came after Trump posted a photo to social media of the court's clerk attacking her. And the gag order banned Trump from, reasonably, I'd say, quote, posting or speaking publicly about the judge's staff. Well, this morning, Trump went to the cameras outside the courtroom and he said this.
If we had a jury, it would have been fair, at least, even if it was a somewhat negative jury, because no negative jury would vote against me. But this judge will, because this judge is a very partisan judge, with a person who's very partisan sitting alongside of him, perhaps even much more partisan than he is.
He said the judges with a partisan person sitting alongside him. The judge took issue with that comment, summoned Trump to the witness stand to answer for it. He asked him, quote, to whom were you referring when you said the person sitting alongside of him? You and Cohn, Trump said. The judge asked, are you sure you didn't mean the person on the other side of me, my principal law clerk? Yes, I am sure. Later, the judge asked Trump, quote, don't you always refer to Michael Cohen as Michael Cohen? No, Trump said. His attorneys jumped in to help him out, with Chris Kise insisting many things even worse than that. Alina Habba adding, quote, yes, Your Honor, I can confirm that much worse. The judge then made his decision, and I quote the judge here, as the trier of fact, I find the witness is not credible that he was referring to my law clerk, who is principal law clerk, who is sitting much closer to me, who doesn't have a barrier, whom I believe has been accused by the defendant of being partisan or Democrat or partisan Democrat. I hereby fine you $10,000, which is on the low side, to be paid within 30 days to the lawyer's fund for client protection. Now, about 45 minutes after that, the judge denied a motion by Trump's lawyer. And to the apparent surprise of his attorneys, Trump stormed out of the courtroom with Secret Service chasing behind. Irate and red-faced, he stopped, only to talk to the scrambling cameras outside the courtroom.
The witness just admitted that we won the trial, and the judge should end this trial immediately. Thank you.
What the fuck was all that, man?
I'm glad he got slapped on the wrist. I mean, that's nothing, $10,000 fine. That's just nothing. I think it was the principle of everything that the judge said, hey, listen, you can't be out there all the time talking about people's ass, right? Calling them this, calling them that. And he's in the middle of a trial, and he's calling the judge that's overseeing his trial a name. Who has the balls to do that?
They just charged him $10,000, and that's all they did? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's just upset because of the gag order. So when he's out there on the political trail, running his mouth, he can't talk about it.
He did. He talked about it after the trial. Again, saying they just said we won the trial. That's talking about the trial.
Yeah, we'll see what the judge does to him. I mean, he just doesn't care. Again, sometimes I think that's the popularity of the man, is because sometimes people hate the judicial system that we do have in place, and he's the kind of person that can get away with that.
He hated. I know he ain't hating it. He's benefiting from it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I know some people that really, really hated that, screwed by the judicial system. But I'm not going to go into that.
What's he keep saying? Yeah, he goes, the more that they indict him, the more his popularity votes go up, and it's like, all right.
It goes to show you how jacked up America is, and how dumb people are, and how so out of touch with reality people are. I'm like, it's ridiculous. It's just sad.
But you know what? One of his buddies, and that's who he referred to, sitting there on the bench. He goes, who is you referring to? Myself, or the person on my side. And he's, oh yeah, I'm Cohen, Michael Cohen. And he's really pissed at Cohen because Cohen's flipped on him and given up the dirt about how they manipulated things so that Donald would look better. So, hey, check it out.
Former President Donald Trump was in the same courtroom as one of his former attorneys Tuesday, but at a very different table. Michael Cohen testified at Trump's civil fraud trial. He worked for the former president for several years and said Trump told him to inflate his net worth and property values. Meanwhile, another Trump lawyer, more recently on his team, pleaded guilty in the Georgia election case. Robert Costa has more on the tale of the lawyers.
I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse.
In a tearful turnaround, former Trump campaign lawyer Jenna Ellis admitted to making false statements that the 2020 presidential election was fraudulent.
If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges.
Ellis became the third attorney associated with Trump to accept a plea deal and could testify against him in the future. She blamed Rudy Giuliani and others for pulling her into a conspiracy.
What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true.
Meanwhile, Trump was part of a dramatic standoff today in a New York courtroom as Michael Cohen, his former fixer, sat across from him and accused Trump of fraud.
How did it feel to see Donald Trump again? Heck of a reunion.
Cohen said Trump directed him to balloon his net worth and inflate the value of his properties, including Trump Park Avenue and Trump World Tower, testifying that he was tasked by Mr. Trump to increase the total assets based upon a number that he arbitrarily selected. Trump shook his head in response without looking at Cohen. Cohen also implicated Trump's children, including Ivanka, for being involved in creating false financial statements. The former president's legal team has repeatedly attacked Cohen's credibility. He served 13 months in jail for crimes including lying to Congress.
He's a proven liar, as you know, he's a felon.
It shows that the Fulton County Prison, John, is quite a specter for so many of these defendants as they're looking at their own future. The idea of spending time in a jail that is notoriously a tough place to be is not exactly at the top of their list. So you've now seen 3 lawyers associated with Trump take plea deals in the Georgia racketeering case. This is going to provide District Attorney Fani Willis with a lot of ammunition in terms of testimony and documents to build a case against former President Donald Trump. Politically, however, it's hard to see how this ruptures the Republican presidential race, but it's evident when I talk to other campaigns. They see all of these ongoing cases as a political burden that eventually could take its toll on Trump.
Okay, was Cohen a felon?
Lawyer.
Before?
He was one of Trump's lawyers.
But was he a felon before he became a lawyer? Was
No, not at all.
So why is he saying he was a felon then?
Oh, because of he's been indicted on different things, and it's all revolving around Trump.
So he's not actually a felon.
I don't know what. I think he may be charged.
It just says spent 13 months in jail.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. He took a plea deal on that one. So yeah, he did take a plea deal on that felony charge.
But that's after he worked with Trump.
Right.
So then so why is Trump saying he's a felon then? When he got the case, he got the charge when he was working for Trump.
Right. Who knows? Because Trump says a lot of things. Trump says a lot of things that aren't true.
I thought he had did some shit before, and now if he was a felon before, Trump is wrong for hiring him, knowing they could come up against him. Now, if he became a felon after he worked for Trump, that's just as worse as before he was a felon. Before he worked for Trump.
Well, I think that's what a lot of these other, that's why a lot of these people are taking plea deals, because they want to avoid federal, felony crimes rather.
Because they know he's wrong.
Yeah, because they know it's either, how many people he's thrown under the bus. When it comes down to you or him, do you think he's really going to take care of you, or do you think he's going to throw you under the bus?
No, that's exactly why Cohen is turned against him. Because one thing, Trump probably didn't pay him what he was supposed to pay him. Trump didn't give him the connections and hookups he's supposed to connect him with, hook up with, and then on top of that, that dude called the case because of Trump.
I would say that's 1, 2, 3. You struck him out. You're right.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, this dude is bad, man. Trump is, I ain't gonna say a bad man. I'm just like, he's just horrible with. He uses people.
Oh.
You can't, if you use people in your own candidacy to become a president, what you gonna do with the whole country? You're gonna use the whole country? He's done it before.
Yeah, you're gonna start an insurrection.
Oh my God.
That's what he's gonna do. That's what they're looking at to try to keep him off the ballots. Is if you looked at Article 14, Section 3. Article 14, Section 3 of the Constitution talks about that if somebody's involved in an insurrection from like local government up to be president, all the way, they got it pretty much covered. You disqualify yourself.
And he's still not disqualified yet.
So that's what they're trying. They're doing something in Colorado and Minnesota.
It's on TV. It's been proven.
Yeah.
He was at the rally.
So in Minnesota, and Colorado, they're trying to keep him off the ballots, which would be coming up in not this November, but in a year.
Jesus Christ, bro! This dude is. I don't understand what people are. I'm trying to.
So constitutionally speaking, they're trying to get him under, Article 14, Section 3. Look it up. Anyhow, a lot of times they just try to keep us from voting altogether, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's been going on for years.
And so
hundreds of years.
Oh yeah. And let's talk a little bit about voter suppression and how it works, and take a look at this small clip.
Deja and Amy are college friends who live in the same city. Deja lives in an apartment downtown, while Amy lives in the suburbs. They've become interested in local politics, and they're excited to vote on election day. However, when Deja shows up at her polling location, she notices a very long line. After waiting in line for 3 hours, she finally gets to cast her vote and finds out that Amy was in and out of her polling location in 10 minutes. They don't understand why their voting experience was so different when they both live in the same city. Unfortunately, Deja and Amy were experiencing a small part of a much larger problem: voter suppression. Voter suppression is any effort to keep someone from voting with the intention of benefiting a specific person or political party. Here are 3 of the most common examples of voter suppression in the United States. First up, voter ID laws. The idea that every voter should show an ID sounds very reasonable. The problem is that voter ID laws create an additional barrier for anyone who isn't able to afford the cost of the new ID or can't take time off from work or school to go through the process, even if the ID is offered for free. Studies estimate that voter ID laws reduce turnout by 2 to 3 percentage points. To put this in perspective, 3 states in the 2016 presidential election were decided by less than 1% of the vote. Next up is polling place closures. Deja and Amy experienced vastly different voting times because there simply weren't enough polling locations in Deja's neighborhood. This is a common problem that mostly affects minority populations all over the US. In the spring of 2020 in Milwaukee, for example, the city reduced 180 polling stations down to 5. Milwaukee has the largest percentage of black residents in the state, and critics were quick to raise concerns about voter suppression. Texas has the highest number of polling closures in the country, and an analysis by The Guardian uncovered that neighborhoods where black and Latino populations are growing the fastest experience the majority of closures. Lastly, we have voter roll purges. There are plenty good reasons to remove outdated information from the voter records. However, the obvious problem becomes, who decides when to throw out the registered voter from the rolls? In 2018, the ACLU successfully sued the Kansas Secretary of State because the computer program he was using to remove duplicate voters was so flawed that for every legitimate duplicate found, it produced up to 200 false positives. The result was that voters would show up to vote only to find out that they couldn't because they'd been removed from the rolls. Proponents of these voter suppression efforts often say they are just trying to prevent voter fraud. However, study after study has concluded that the rate of potential voter fraud in the US is consistently too small to impact election results. So, what can you do? Voting is a constitutionally protected right, and every American should demand easy, fast, and accessible voting for everyone. Ideas like automatic voter registration when you turn 18, universal vote by mail options, early voting with plenty of polling locations, and same-day voter registration should be bipartisan ideas that we all support because we like living in a democracy. Democracy is like a tree. If we don't water it consistently with our participation, it will shrivel up and die. Let's continue to fight to keep our democracy alive and healthy. Peace.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, they've been doing that for years since minorities were allowed to vote in the United States. They've been doing that. They're still doing it.
It's interesting. I mean, because I think we talked some time ago about, not necessarily just, like what this video was touching on, but gerrymandering, where they'll redraw a district to make sure that, they cut out a certain percentage of, let's say, the black vote, Latino vote that might sway against the current representative of that district, as a for instance. So, you know, if they know they're going to get beat, well, why not redraw the districts so that I can manipulate the vote and keep myself in office?
Well, even that, the local politicians I see, why don't they make sure black ones, Latino ones, why don't they make sure that there are a bunch of voting stations or capabilities for people to vote that's a minority side, since they're in the House. Well, not basically they're up there with the big wigs when it comes to governors and all that. Why don't they make it happen? They got black governors, and
Yeah, back to
I know
that.
in Dallas
Yeah,
especially.
well, yeah, Milwaukee was a glaring issue, was that not?
Yeah, I'm like, now all those black potential votes, and they did that purposely.
How do you do that from what was it, 1,200 polling places down to what, 20 or something? I'd have to read.
That's a straight.
But it's
That's
like,
a straight
damn.
scam.
Yeah, and where are you going to keep the 20 polling places at? Probably towards the white upper class neighborhoods, so
And
that
so
it's
then I guess if
easy
those
for them
black
to get
voters,
to.
so if you ship all the black voters down there, what are they gonna say? You can't vote over here because you're not in this district. What are they gonna say? I'm like, I don't really understand it, because if you
That
only
would
have
be
20,
it too, yeah, because you have to go to your polling place.
yeah, so it's a scam. It's basically it going back to was it Jim Crow laws? It was a Jim Crow. What they do back then when slaves were given their basically false freedoms, and they wouldn't allow to vote. They created laws to prevent them from voting if you couldn't read or something or whatever the hell. They got to be a felon, you can't vote or something like that. So um, it's a scam, man, across the
Oh
board.
yeah, they always come up with some type of a reason, and and I kind of like the idea. You could have, voting ID, a universal voting ID that so everybody could have one. It should be afforded to everyone, no matter what. That should be something free that the government gives to you, so that they can assure that you are who you are.
Yeah, and they shipping all these funds and money to all these other countries for these wars. Why don't you ship some of this money to these states where they can have adequate voting stations and adequate voting places to vote, and then make the vote count or whatever. Because at the end of the day, Tim, what's the worst that can happen? You vote
They
somebody
get elected
in,
out of office.
yeah, exactly. But what's the worst? I'm like, you get somebody in. If you got somebody that's there bad, or you get somebody in that's bad, can you get somebody that's worse? No. If you get somebody in that's comes in and they're just as bad as that person, they just vote them back out and bring the next person in. I'm like, it's as simple as that.
Kind of like what we're going through now,
people's
right?
hands.
Kind of like what we're going through now.
Yeah, but I'm like, you thinking about the federal part. When you start thinking about the local part, the local votes is what goes to the federal count. You start locally and it gets sent up federally. So, but the local local politics and stuff like that, it has more power than the federal politics.
Oh,
In my book,
absolutely,
it does.
absolutely. If you stand idly by, excuse me, if you are, in a particular county and or city that's leaning towards Republican or Democrat one way or the other, and you're not with that, that doesn't necessarily mean that your entire, let's say the east side of our city is Democrat, but the 3/4 of it is Republican, right? But as soon as you're going to negate that entire, let's say 100,000, 200,000 votes because of this, right? That's not fair.
Yeah, man, America is a fighting country. This country is based on.
That's what I don't like when they redraw those districts, and it's like, well, we outvoted you. Well, that wasn't really that fair. I should have been counted actually over here, because now this county to my side is just like me. They think about my way. Everybody in this county voted the same way I did, but you decided to clump me in with yours so that you could negate my vote.
Yeah, man, it's ridiculous because we have a country that's based on fighters. We have a fighting country. That's what we do down here in this country, America. And let's let the best man or woman step up and let them fight it out officially, and then let the votes be official and do it right across the board.
Yeah.
and let the best man or woman win.
Start from the
That's
bottom
how it
up.
should be.
Yeah. If you're not agreeing with local politics, we'll get involved in local politics, county politics. Get involved in politics. Yeah, get involved in the county politics. Let your voice be heard.
It's kind of hard when they're closing down the voting stations. So
yeah, well, you know, we don't have a voting station around And what's interesting, I can guarantee you, there's probably no voting station on the bus lines.
No, and they should have stations in very intricate parts in the cities.
Wouldn't you think?
Downtown areas, bus lines would be a very incredible part to have voting stations. They do all the sports and World Series and Super Bowls. They could take a whole stadium and just say, hey, you know what? We're going to have a voting concert or something, or a voting station, throw a concert, and everybody come in and vote.
Remember how it used to be every grade school, the junior high schools, they all of them had a voting station.
They should, yeah.
It was like you could vote almost frickin' anywhere.
Exactly, they should be. Yeah, like how many people take their kids to school? Great opportunity to vote.
And I remember a lot of parents doing that. Remember my parents doing that, dropping.
How many people go to grocery stores and buy groceries? Great opportunity to vote.
Yep. Put it in the meat locker.
Come on, man. They just bullshit. They're scamming people.
You heard. Hey, anyhow, speaking of something that they're actually maybe doing right. I don't know if they're doing it right, but whatever. One way and or the other. They have decided to start relocating the homeless in L.A.
Mayor Karen Bass and our Inside Safe program began the process of clearing one of LA's largest homeless encampments. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Haskell has more on what it's going to take to clean up this encampment that's been there for so long.
I'm happy but anxious because of all the commotion around, you know. I mean, I appreciate those who have helped to make sure that this happens.
Jeremy Minnie has called this stretch of Venice Boulevard in Mar Vista under the 405 freeway home for 4 years. But on Tuesday, one of LA's most notorious homeless encampments was cleared. It's existed for roughly 10 years.
Living up under here, it's rough, and it'd be nice to be able to have somewhere where I can have a shower and like a bed to lay in.
I don't believe anyone wants to actually live here, you know.
As the homeless crisis has expanded, so has this encampment, which has been the scene of shootings, drug deals, overdose deaths, fires, all impacting the surrounding neighborhood, including exclusive motors owned by George Frem.
We changed the narrative from saying that this used to be something that is okay, and today everybody's saying this is not okay. I'm not worried about me. I'm happy about people are going to stop dying on the streets, and you know, families are going to be reunited.
One of the reasons why this homeless encampment was so challenging to clear is that this side of Venice Boulevard is the city of Los Angeles split between two council districts, and this side of Venice Boulevard is Culver City.
They're moving into a motel that will have wraparound services, housing navigation support, so that they're there and then they move on to someplace that's a better fit, more long-term.
As is the case at every Inside Safe operation, there's uncertainty about where the buses will go and if the interim housing facility that's nearby will be the right fit.
We got to see first. We got to get there first and see. Then I can ask that question. You know, but I don't know. It might be good. I'm not sure. I don't know especially like where I'm going. If I like it, I'll be there. If I don't, I'm out of there.
But Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass tells Eyewitness News she's confident the Mar Vista encampment won't return, just like all the other Inside Safe sites. On Monday, Bass and Councilwoman Heather Hutt checked in on this encampment at Obama Boulevard in La Brea in South Los Angeles, which was cleared back in June, and all 41 people who lived here are in housing. In Mar Vista, Josh Haskell, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
What do you think?
I don't know, man. I'm like, if they want to live on the streets, they're gonna live on the streets. So I think it's much bigger than just clearing the streets. I can understand the cosmetic look of clearing the streets and making the city look better and making it more profitable for the city or whatever, because no one wants to be involved and go through homeless areas and killings and all that crap. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with people that like they were cool with living on the streets. They chose that.
Yeah, having encountered homeless, and I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
Their perspective is that they kind of like their lifestyle, except
Yeah.
if it gets real cold or gets real hot, or you need shelter from the storm, so to speak, they do get hungry, sure. But obviously, they live life light, and some of them have their own reason
Yeah, and I seen some
for living
fat
that
homeless
lifestyle.
people. Now, how you gonna be fat and be homeless? I didn't get that. I saw the fat dude, but I'm like, I'm more concerned with the people that chose it, because I don't want people think I'm being insensitive. Because everybody doesn't choose to be homeless. I'm saying the ones who chose to be homeless. Like, you know what? I'm
Like that one dude that was talking, I'll stay there if I
If
feel
I don't like
staying
it,
there.
I'm gonna go back. I'm like, bruh, who the hell wants to not have a? How you don't want to have shelter and have a cot? What are you talking about? And he doesn't. He might have an underlying mental issue.
Right, he could be anti-authoritarian.
Right, but that's no.
Don't tell me
excuse.
when I have to go to bed. Don't tell me that I have to sleep in this bed. Don't tell me when I have to eat. Don't all that. Anti.
What do you do with people like that, Tim? What do you do with people that just don't care and like, you know what? I'd rather live on the streets than abide by all these rules which are bullshit, which the government is scamming us. But I'm like, what are you gonna do at the end of the day? You got to just. I'd rather be being screwed over with air conditioning and heat and being in a bed and with my wife and daughter knowing they're safe compared to be not being screwed by the government and living in a tent on the street and not knowing if I'm gonna get a meal the next day.
Yeah, but you're talking
or-
about two separate things. If you're homeless and you have some type of skill set, and I say, what kind of skill sets do you have? And you say A, B, C, D, and I'm like, okay, well, I can help find you employment. I can help find you some housing that's affordable for you at this particular time. I can help you with getting food for the rest of your family. You may seize that opportunity, as you said. Some people may say, I don't want it.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people that was homeless, they didn't want to be there. They kind of just gave up. And
There's
said,
two of
"Fuck,
them. There's
no one's gonna help me."
There's probably two cultures in homeless.
Yeah.
Those who
Even in
choose to
Fort
be there,
Worth,
and
even
those who were forced to be there. Yeah.
Even in Fort Worth, they got a whole bunch of housing I've seen, and they got it all. It's a little complex. They got it boarded up and everything, and then about 2 blocks over, everybody's sleeping on the street. I'm like, why the hell they not know those buildings over there that's boarded up?
Yeah,
And
you
I drove
utilize
by
them
there.
somehow.
Huh?
Utilize them somehow. Right.
Yeah, I'm like, what's the purpose? I'm like, I come from the comedy club, and I'm like, they got these big ass apartments. Not apartments, I guess projects they closed down, and then a couple streets over, you see at least about 400 or 500 people on the streets.
See what you can find out if you want to do a little bit of research. I had heard from someone in Seattle, Washington, that they had a prison that they had closed down, and they had talked about refabricating or repurposing rather the prison, because Seattle has a homeless issue, yes. So, but apparently that fell through for one reason and or the other, probably political reasons. But yeah, see if you can dig up something on that.
Okay, because you can go to any city and find a bunch of closed down buildings with homeless people around there, so there's no excuse for not
But you
accommodating
can't
those people.
repurpose it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you don't like the homeless hanging on your street, just like in Culver City. Have you been to Culver City? We stayed there for a while. It's kind of uppity. It's, it's not, the high end of L.A., not like up in the hills, but it's not bad. It's a nice area, close to Venice Beach. But yeah, you get, I don't want to see these people around. Well, if you don't want to see them around, provide a place, provide opportunity.
Some mental health to figure out what their major malfunction is and help them. If they don't want to help themselves, then you got to that's when it gets deep.
Yep. Anyhow, hey, let's move on. And you know what's kind of interesting also is you see now we still have these labor shortages, even though people are on strike. I see that GM and Ford, I believe, maybe have settled part of their stuff. So I guess down in Arlington, those guys will be back to work. So who knows? But anyhow, they're still manipulating things, and here's the thing that kind of upset me: they're manipulating child labor laws. So kids can work.
The Fridley
ridiculous
movie
hours.
theater outside Des Moines is ramping up for a big summer, but finding workers has been a struggle.
We used to have stacks of applications. Now we might have 2 or 3.
That's why the theater's manager says he and others like him in the service industry fought to change the state's child labor law, making it easier to hire teenagers under 16.
A lot of the part of the Iowa Code that dealt with child labor was written as far back as 1906.
State Rep Dave Dio helped to get a new law passed.
I think this is really more about giving students the opportunity, if they want to, if they could work a few more hours for 1 or 2 evenings.
Iowa's new child labor law allows kids under 16 to work more hours in a single day and as late as 9 p.m. during the school year, up to 28 hours a week.
Do you have any concerns that some kids may work too much and not pay attention to their education?
We didn't increase the number of hours per week. We've left that the same.
But it does mean that a 14-year-old could work from 4 until 9 every day after school.
What I'm concerned about are children whose families are facing economic desperation.
Jen Schur is a labor activist who says kids under pressure to make money for their family could drop out of school.
It puts them in a high-risk category for their grade suffering, high-risk category for not completing high school.
And critics also say the bill relaxes the rules around where kids can work, including allowing light assembly jobs. Iowa is not alone. In the last 2 years, 14 states have introduced legislation to loosen child labor laws. 5 have passed it. All of this coming as the federal government says there has been a 69% increase in child labor violations.
Those are the situations in which we're seeing teens often recruited and then hired into highly exploitative work that involves excessive hours, illegal exposure to either hazards or chemicals.
Do you worry that by expanding child labor and changing the law here, it sets a tone that could potentially open the door for companies and industries to take advantage of kids?
If they're breaking the law, they're breaking the law. This doesn't open it up to allow for, for those type of things.
The new law, he says, is written for kids like Asher Hughes.
What are you saving up for?
Mainly a car right now.
A car?
Yeah.
The 15-year-old works at that movie theater.
I'm fine with him working as much as he wants to work, as long as his grades are up.
Does working until 9 seem late to you?
No, not really. He doesn't go to bed at 9. I don't know any teenager that does go to bed at 9 or 10.
It teaches responsibility, Shelley Hughes says, and the value of money, at a time when businesses say they could really use the help. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, Waukee, Iowa.
Yeah, what do you think?
Like, shit, what kind of mama? I don't know if tells you go to bed at 9 or 10. I'm like, what time they go to bed?
Yeah, especially on the school night.
It's a school night. I'm
Yeah,
like,
how you
shit,
getting
they
your
need
proper
to-
rest? Yeah, right? He usually goes to bed. He's in bed by 2.
Man, really, man?
But I can't believe that. They did do the math. That, if they allow you to work 28 hours in a week, well, that means I could work Monday through Friday, 5 to 9.
Well, I guess.
So, I mean,
I think, kids have a terrible work ethic now. I think they should work more. But I think that as long as their grades are up and they are working for the purpose for themselves to learn work ethic, and it's not solely for just to help the family. I don't know. I'm torn on that. Because it was worse back in the days when kids had to work and their education was pretty much irrelevant.
But they're relaxing the part also. How about this, where they're relaxing the environment where they can work? Now they can be into a factory situation or an assembly position.
Factories is no-go. Factories have a lot of variables that are different. Machinery, you have to be 18 years old or older to operate things like a trash compactor or a cardboard box compactor, stuff like that. You don't need kids in that environment. Kids, when it's kids that age, like he was working at theater, they should have jobs like that. Maybe at a car wash, directing cars through a line or something like that. They should not be doing anything that's labor intensive or anything with responsibility where someone can actually get hurt. That requires lockout, tagouts, and OSHA being involved in it. It don't take much to stand at the register to ring up some groceries.
And possibly a little bit more, Larry, if you really think about it. They said there was a 69% increase, in violations. So, I mean, I
But
guess
that's what
they'll keep
happens when
taking
you,
advantage of these young kids. And, the thing that bothers me is, I want a kid to be a kid.
Yeah.
I want them to, I believe if you put the work in now, you can play later, right?
Right. You work hard when you're young.
And that should be with my education.
Yeah.
I want to work on my education so that when I get older, I'm not having to sit there and bust my butt, right?
I think it should be a good balance. I think if the kids do work, they have to have a
and have a little bit of
labor-intensive job.
Moderation.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie, man. When I was younger, I did most of my work during the summertime. I wasn't actually a great student. I wish I was. I didn't really have a lot of support when it came to school, but I had my own little landscaping business. I made some pretty good money. Bought my first radio, my double tape deck radio. I bought everything myself. I was a rapper back then, so I bought all my stuff I needed to be a rapper. And I bought all the stuff I needed in order to be successful as what I was doing at that time.
Oh, well, growing up, I mean, I was a paper boy, delivering
and
papers.
Then you just want to, I think it all falls on the parents too, because anytime you're a parent and you need your kid to help you with your bills, I think you have failed as a parent. If you need your kids to pay the electricity bill, the water bill, the rent, when they're supposed to be going to school, I think you're a failure as a parent. And some parents might get mad at me. I don't care, but I really do think that if you went through that as a child, and you had to help your parents do that, your job is to make sure your kids are better than you. So you got to do better to make sure they don't have to do what you did. Now, if that's happening, then we got some problems as parents. Yeah, I'm not saying your kids don't have to work. I'm saying your kids should not have to help you take care of grown folks' bills. Right. They should be saving for cars and their prom or extra stuff or whatever. Yeah. Come on now.
And they should be establishing their own worth, not taking care of your negativity.
Yeah, and then when you get older,
I can't make my bills. I need some money.
Yeah, and then plus when you become an adult and get older, and your kids are possibly supposed to be there for you, help take care of you a little bit more when you get older. They're going to supposed to be there for you.
But they may have to be there for us. I mean, Larry, if Mike Johnson and them get their idea that, hey, we need to have, Social Security, Medicare reform, where they might not even be there for us. So we might be we'll get one of these little tiny houses and move on our kids' property.
And it's crazy how they're setting it all up for it to be like that. They're abolishing abortion. They're changing labor laws. They want to get rid of all these other things that people need to survive when they get older. It's crazy how they going right back to what it was when industrialization wasn't introduced to America, when America was being built. It was the same thing back then. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. I don't know what the hell to say. Hey, anyhow.
Going backwards.
Hey, let's keep moving on. You remember, was it last week when we talked about the Alaska Airlines pilots, or was that too? Mm-hmm. That was like where he was trying to kill everybody on their plane, and ended up, I guess, that once they got him down, and he said he did some shrooms like the weekend before, so like a day or two before he had taken this hopper, to get back to wherever they were going, so he could make his flight. Widely he's stoned out of his brain on mushrooms. That's his excuse on why he was tripping out. But what I was alluding to is they got an interesting video out about just how close everybody came. And you know what? This almost seems dangerous to have this accessible in any cockpit.
We turn now to the pilot who authorities say tried to crash a passenger plane over the U.S. Tonight, new details of the life and death struggle inside that cockpit and what that pilot now says he took before that flight. He's now charged with 83 counts of attempted murder. Here's Gio Benitez.
Tonight, Alaska Airlines pilot Joseph David Emerson looking emotional, appearing before a judge late today to face attempted murder charges for trying to crash a passenger jet.
Enter not guilty plea on all counts.
As we learned, he allegedly told investigators he had taken psychedelic mushrooms for the first time some 48 hours before the incident and thought he was having a nervous breakdown after going without sleep for 40 hours. Authorities say Emerson was off duty, hitching a ride in the cockpit's jump seat Sunday. The on-duty pilots telling police Emerson engaged in casual conversation. But then mid-flight, he threw his headset across the cockpit and announced, "I am not okay." Then reaching up and grabbing the red fire handles and pulling them down. A pilot physically engaged with Emerson for 25 to 30 seconds. Had Emerson pulled the handles all the way down, the plane would have turned into a glider within seconds. Emerson calming down and exiting the cockpit, allegedly telling a flight attendant, "You need to cuff me right now or it's going to be bad." Emerson, a father with an unblemished flying history, telling police he struggled with depression and a friend recently passed away. And it was his first time taking mushrooms. And David, Emerson is also facing a federal charge of interfering with a flight crew, along with those 83 counts of attempted murder. David.
Gio Benitez back with us on this story again tonight. Thank you, Gio.
That guy was tripping out up in the cockpit and stuff.
He need to get the maximum penalty, man.
I mean, wow. So what he said,
penalty.
40 hours without sleep because he was just too high to sleep.
That's his fault. Maximum penalty. 83 counts of murder. Guess how many families he could have destroyed? Take 83 counts of murder and multiply times what? Minimum. I say minimum 5 people per family. So 83 times 5 per person. Think about the mother, the father, grandkid, nephew, niece, mama, daddy. He's not only killed. He would have killed the people on the flight. He would have destroyed a lot of families of people who were on the flight.
Yeah, he made some seriously poor choices.
Yeah, man, that guy need to be in prison for a long time.
For the first time, I decided to, eat a couple of shrooms and see what would happen.
Why was he sitting there? He just sat his ass in the back of the plane and tripped out in the restroom or something.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done that.
Down in the fucking cockpit.
And lay back and relax, man. Enjoy the trip.
They gonna give him a break. I hate to say it, Tim. It's gonna come abrasive, but he's a white guy.
We'll see what happens.
I don't know. He bald-headed too. I'm like,
but could you believe those handles are
me?
just right up there where we could just say, psh, and that's it.
Yeah,
the plane is disabled. Man. You're just.
And they making excuses for the guy. Man, he's an asshole. He needs to get maximum penalty and never fly again. He's done. Forget him.
But don't you think? I understand that's probably for safety reasons that they have that in case the engines catch on fire and shit, right? Those two.
Yeah,
but that seems like a big safety hazard.
So then the thing about it is, he has so much knowledge with planes, and he still did what he did. And then he said it was going to be terrible. So then he could have just took himself out of the whole situation, but he stayed in there and did what he did. So fuck him, man. That guy could have destroyed a lot of families. He need to go to prison for a very, very, very long time.
He probably will.
He's old as shit.
We'll see what the hell happens. Who knows? Lord knows. Anyhow, let's move on to your favorite part. The asshole of the week. This one's great. This is a little bit lengthy, but well worth watching.
It's your fault.
Huh?
That's your fault.
It ain't my fault.
I blame you every time. All right.
Employees told officers this was the third time the suspect had trespassed on the property.
Looks like they have him tackled on the floor.
Can you get out of the? Can you back up? Thank you. Can you get back, sir, just in case?
It doesn't say if they're active. It just says the patient is tackled on the floor. It just says the patient is tackled on the floor.
All right, man, get out. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. All right. Yes, sir. Put your hands behind your back.
So yeah, he's in there stealing and shit. Guy comes up with a forklift, lifts his car up, waits for the cops to come.
That's smart.
Shoots him back down. I'm like,
I think that's very smart. No one got hurt. I think that's very, very smart.
That's funnier than hell. But I mean, why would the guy keep coming back? You know what they say? What do they say? You never don't keep going to the same well, right?
Tim, I'm gonna tell you, when I was in loss prevention, I would catch people stealing and say, "Listen, bro, or ma'am, I'm not going to arrest you. I'm not going to call the police or get you arrested. Just do not come back." And they would still come back. One guy came back 3 times.
Habitual, right?
Had to beat him up. He thought it was a game. Every time he saw me, he would take off running laughing. I said, "All right, I'm not playing with you, bro. I came to work, not to play. I'm a grown man. I don't play with grown men and grown women." And I had to put hands on him. And he never came back after that, after he got arrested. I'm like, they got some, that's how people are, man. Some people, they just, unless you put them on paper or unless you put hands on them, sometimes you put them on paper. And like, basically, the cops will pick these people up and take them around the corner and drop them off. And that's what happened. But then again, when I put hands on them, then they're like, "No, this guy's serious." They never came back after that.
Yeah, well, sometimes you put them into the right district. Yeah, they'll get their butts kicked. Yeah, here, I'm gonna drop you off over here.
I was the one. I was the bruiser. So, like I told this dude, and the dude came in one time. I said, "Bro, I'm the muscle. You can't muscle the muscle, bro. I'm him." So that's how some guys are, though.
Because he is the muscle. He is the muscle.
Want to go first? Want me to go first?
Okay, I'll let you go first. Hang on, man. Let me. Boom.
Hey, LRE Fitness.
Hang on a second, man. Let me get you. Okay, go ahead.
All right, check this out. Check me out, LRE Fitness Solutions. You can check me out on Facebook at Estelle Jr. Larry or LRE Fitness Solutions. We keep you moving. Same thing on IG, LRE Fitness Solutions. We keep you moving, or Estelle Jr. Larry. If you can't get it, play it back. I'm a certified personal trainer, fitness coach through NASM, National Academy Sports and Medicine. So I got papers. I am certified to train outside the gym and inside the gym. I'm the real deal, people. Now, I'm gonna give you a real good tip for this week. Remember when you're exercising, remember what you're exercising for. Okay. If you're in the gym to lose weight, make sure you focus with weight loss exercises and cardio. If you're in the gym to gain muscle, gain strength, make sure you focus on lifting heavier weights with lower repetitions, but heavier weights close to your max. Okay, but if you're working on weight loss, you're using less weight, less rest periods, and you're doing more reps, so you keep your metabolism up. So weight training is very important, and know what you're doing, whether you're getting stronger or power, losing weight, working on stability, working on speed and agility. You always want to focus your training on what you are trying to accomplish. It's okay to change it up, but stay focused on what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to what you're trying to get done, scope-wise of what your workout and your overall outcome is going to be. LRE Fitness Solutions, we keep you moving. IG and Facebook, come holler at me. That's me running. Kinda.
That's you running? All right, LRE Fitness. Go get them. Anyhow, hey, I found a little, I guess, quote, you would call it, surfing through the internet and really contemplating about all the crap we talked about tonight. And I stumbled upon this and I wanted to share it. He who creates a poison also has the cure. He who creates a virus also has the antidote. He who creates chaos also has the ability to create peace. He who sparks hate has the ability to transform it into love. He who creates misery also has the ability to destroy it with kindness. He who creates sadness also has the ability to convert it to happiness. He who creates darkness can also be awkward to produce, but can produce elimination. He who spreads fear can also be shaken to actually spread comfort. Any problem created by the left hand of man can be solved by the right hand of man. For he who manifests anything also has the ability to destroy it. Amen.
Good one.
stumbled on that, and I'm like, that's true. Yeah, you know, you can, if you're manifesting it, you can easily correct it.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyhow, hey, man, we so much appreciate you all tuning on in. And I guess until, hey, next hump day, make sure you get some LRE fitness in. And, hey, man, we will holla. You know what, Larry? I wanted to share a little video. Let me come back to us. I don't want to end this yet because this is important. I have an important message for the people actually going out. And this, hopefully, if you would adopt this philosophy, you could have a much, much better life. And you could enjoy every day.
This happened in Michigan. A tiny little bird was very exuberant and happy, and winter started coming. It should have gone south, but it was so happy it forgot about it and little late. Then it tried to fly, but because of the cold, its wings froze and it fell down. Then a cow was passing that way. It's an American cow. A cow was passing that way and it dropped a heap of dung and it fell right on the bird. So inside this dung, the warmth of the dung caused thaw of the wings, the ice melted away and it felt happy and warm. Tick, 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 it started tweeting from inside the dung. It couldn't get up, but it was happy inside the dung. A cat was going by, it heard this bird tweaking, it opened up the dung and ate up the bird. The moral of the story is, not everybody who heaps dung on you is your enemy. Not everybody who gets you out of shit is your friend. And above all, and above all, when you're in a heap of shit, keep your mouth shut.